YouTube, what is up? We are back with another video, and today we got some loaded barbell jumps, we got some snatches, we got some squats. It's a pretty simple day when it comes to the actual work, but I think K-Dot is really fucking sick of my snatch overhead position because he had us do about 72 warm-up exercises. We had these prone dislocates with the band. Every set I was going narrower. They actually felt really, really nice. I've done these before. Just haven't done them in a while, and they felt really nice on the shoulders. Open those babies up. From there, we went to that lateral line stretch, just holding on to that rack, leaning away, opening up that lat, opening up those obliques, opening up that entire side body. If you're an athlete with a tight lower back, there's really nothing I can recommend more than starting to implement more side bending and side stretching into your program. The amount of athletes that have SI problems and just lower back tightness in general, that if you just get those obliques and side body and lats to open up just a little bit, and just expose that body to a little bit of side bending, I cannot tell you how many problems that frees up. I'm not saying it's the answer to every single back issue ever. I just think it's something that's severely undertrained in a lot of athletes, and everything just kind of compresses that spine, and nothing ever actually expands that spine. And when you start to implement some of those activities, you really start to notice a difference pretty quickly. One little tip I'll give on those is when you are stretching, push with that bottom hand, lean with that upper hand, really try to open up that lat and let that thing hang, and then take a deep inhale in to that side body when you're stretching. I'm telling you, it'll make a world of difference. From there, we started to get into some plyometric jumps. We had those split stance hops, front foot elevated split stance hops into those split lunge hops, and those felt really money. Those felt actually pretty hopped in. That toe wasn't being bugged. So I'm hoping some of those plyometrics and split stance work that we've been doing is starting to help that toe, and it's starting to feel better, or maybe today is just a good day. We'll find out next week when we do them, and we'll probably get it exposed. And then we had those split stance forward hops. Same thing as last week where we're hopping in stationary, but now we're adding that forward movement. Those were pretty spicy and got those quads absolutely pumping. So we're feeling good. We're going to start off today with some loaded barbell jumps, and we're going to get after it. Let's go. All right, so to start today, we got our last set of these barbell jumps here. We got 10 pounds on each side. Continuing to build these up. We'll go 15s next week. We'll end with probably 25s, and then we'll cycle back through one more 3-week cycle of these, and then find a new spicy variation to get after. The record with my athletes today is 21-8 to beat, and our legs are feeling poppy, so we should be able to get after it. Let's go. Oh, 22-2, let's fucking go. One more rep. Oh, 21-2, but we got it on the first one. That's pretty sickening. Was not expecting to beat that today. The athlete that got it is a Division I football linebacker. It's a pretty sick athlete, so to be able to beat him, I'm pretty much a Division I football player now. So let's get after these snatches. Let's go. All right, we are ready for some snatches. Just ripped a bunch of warm-ups. Bar's feeling like it's moving good. I was really focusing on that overhead catch position and snapping back rather than straight overhead, which is obviously a problem that I have. Was feeling nice in the warm-ups. Hopefully keep that going here. We got every minute on the minute for 12 minutes. We got 3 minutes at 185, 3 minutes at 190, 3 minutes at 195, 3 minutes at 200, trying to keep them all clean. It's a work week. And we're going to move this bar fast. We're going to move it crisp, and we're going to get after it. After these, we got long pause squats, and then we're done for the day, so a pretty quick day today. Somebody just asked the question, saying they just got Ole shoes and their snatch feels way off balance, and asking for any tips. Honestly, when you get Ole shoes, the first time I got Ole shoes, I fucking hated them. I was not used to that big forward lean, that big heel lift, and I felt the same exact thing where everything felt off balance. And I think a big thing with it too is when you get your shoes, they're very cushiony, and you really got to break in the Ole shoes. At least I did. Both of my shoes that I had to break in before they really felt comfortable. Otherwise, I felt like I was kind of floating and away from the ground, especially since I was used to doing a lot of flat shoe lifting and a lot of barefoot lifting. But honestly, the biggest recommendation I can give you is just keep using them. You'll get used to them. You'll get used to that heel elevation. The more they break in, the better they feel. The more you get used to them, right? So there's not a ton of rocket science there. And I had the same exact issue, so don't get in your head about it. I think it's probably just your first time using that heel elevation and getting used to it. It's going to take some time, so no worries there. And once you get used to them, they improve that overhead position so much and improve that mobility so much and to drop into that catch so much. And the higher the heel elevation for me, the better. These are way higher than my last shoes, and I really, really enjoy them. And I think if you use your shoes for 6 to 12 weeks and you're really, really not getting used to them, maybe it's time just to try a different shoe. Not trying to get you to buy more stuff, more equipment. I don't think it's necessary. But if your shoes have a slight heel elevation or a massive heel elevation, maybe you try something on the other end of things, maybe a smaller heel elevation or more of a heel elevation to see if you get used to it. But honestly, I had the same issue, and I think you'll get used to it in a couple weeks. All right, let's get after this. Let's go. Ooh. 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 Oh, yeah. 185 felt crispy. Let's go to 190. Ooh. Ah, a little slow. Oh yeah, that was sick. Getting that whippy feeling. I like those prone dislocates before this. I'm getting that feeling. It's good. Let's go 195. Ooh. 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 Woo! Those are feeling fucking crispy. 3 more. Ooh. Woo! Ooh. Oh! Let's go. That's the cleanest snatches I've felt in a long time. I was doing those prone dislocates in the warm-up, and I really got that feel of that whip and that shoulder dislocating back. And I really like that feel on these snatches. Obviously, it's in a non-maximal load, so being able to keep that with the maximal load is going to be tough, but those felt really, really good. And this time I consistently got that whipping feeling back there, which felt really, really nice. And just finished up the podcast with Taylor Starch today where he was talking about the curfew philosophy or the curfew law. One of the things he was talking about there was the CNS is kind of like your parents with a curfew, whereas if they set a curfew at 8 p.m. when you're a kid and you follow that curfew, and you don't break it, eventually they're going to trust you and push that curfew back to 9. If you follow that 9 p.m. curfew, they're going to trust you, push that curfew back to 10. You follow that 10, they're going to trust you, push it back to midnight, right? And it's a trust thing. As soon as you break that curfew, they're going to move that curfew back up, right? So they move it back to 10, you show up at 10:30, they're going to not trust you anymore, and they're going to ground you, and they're going to tell you, we got to go back to 9 p.m. curfew until I can earn your trust again, until you earn our trust again. And he related that to the central nervous system, and how a lot of times when you don't earn the trust of your central nervous system, it grounds you. It puts you in inhibitions. And obviously, I'm a poor example of this because I ground myself with my central nervous system all the time by pushing past my limits and sending it. And he talked about how there's a time and place for that, but if 90% of your training or 80% of your training is earning the trust of your central nervous system by staying at weights that you can move and not miss consistently, you're going to earn the trust of that central nervous system and it's going to not inhibit you as much. And I really kind of like that thought process. And it brought a principle to kind of like that conjugate method, that 5x3 velocity speed type method, where you're consistently working that technique, consistently working the velocity side of things, and earning the trust of your central nervous system. So a little bit of bro science there, obviously, but those snatches really made me feel that and think of that philosophy. Because if I can earn the trust of that central nervous system to catch that barbell behind my head, rather than consistently missing forward, probably make progress just a little bit faster. Not saying we're going to do it, because as soon as KDOT gives me the ability to rip a 1 rep max, we're going to send all gas to be able to rip another PR. It's kind of a cool philosophy, and that podcast will drop in a couple weeks if you want to listen to it. So with all that being said, let's get to some squats. Let's go. All right, after those snatches, we got these squats, and KDOT's trying to fuck me up. We got an 8-second pause on the first rep. Then we got 10 reps. Next set, we got 8 reps. Next set, we got 6 reps. Next set, we got 4 reps. Every first rep of every set is an 8-second pause. Adding weight every set. The quads are going to be feeling this. Let's go. Let's go. Gotta add some weight. All right, before we rip the second set, I got the question asking how to measure and progress sprints without a free lap or timing system and the frequency at which you should sprint at. And first off, I think if sprinting times are your goal, there are ways to do it without a timing system. You can rip a traditional timer, you can record yourself and break down the timing there. But honestly, if sprinting times and speed is your goal, I really do believe it is worth the investment to buy some sort of timing system. I think you can get the free lap for pretty cheap. I believe Will and Story probably said it was like $200, $300. I got my arena gates for $500. Again, I get can be a little expensive on the front end. They seems like a big purchase on the front end, but you'll be able to use these things. My arena timers will last forever, especially if you're only using yourself and you don't have a bunch of idiot athletes kicking balls at them. We broke one of our sensors because one of our athletes kicked the ball at it, but other than that, the things are gonna last forever. So it's a $500 investment for probably 5 to 10 years of training with it, which is a pretty high return on investment there. And I think it's worth saving up for if sprinting speed is your goal. And I would compare it to trying to get stronger without having a barbell, without having plates. Like, it's doable. I just don't know if it's totally optimal. But again, if you really are on a budget, you can record on your phone, you can use a hand timer. I just think it's worth looking into saving up for one of these timing systems. Now, that doesn't mean you can't get faster without a timing system. I just think it's a great way to mark and give yourself intent so you know if you are getting faster or not. But the best way to get faster and the only way to get faster is to sprint, and to sprint often, right? So setting your program up in a way in which you can sprint 2 to 3 times a week. You're hitting an XL day, you're hitting at least 1 fly 10 day, 1 max velocity day. And if sprinting is really your goal, maybe it's a technique day for your 3rd day. But really training yourself like a track athlete and prioritizing the sprints is what's going to get you faster. I am a huge fan of sprinting without timers as well, sometimes just to get the feel. I think a lot of times when you always are running through the timers, you start to tense up, you really start to push yourself to get that time, and you never really get those feels of things. So I do believe there is a time and place to sprint without a timer. I just think if it's always without a timer, you really have no metric of whether you're fast or not, and you never really start to touch that top speed that you really need to be touching if you are to get faster. So whether it's hand timer, using your phone, just buying a timing system, going somewhere that has one, sprinting one time just to get a base metric, then sprinting by yourself 2 to 3 times a week for a 12-week program, spending one of those days working on an acceleration work. Maybe we're using sleds, maybe we're using chains, but we're really working on that short sprints, and you're looking for like 100 to 200-ish yards of total volume there. Then we're spending one day ripping max velocity type sprints, and we base our max velocity days off of a drop off. And Dan Fitcher, Want to Get Fast on Instagram, has a really cool Patreon, and we had a podcast with him talking about those drop off times and when you need to cut off your sprints to really get the most of those max velocity days. But we will sprint until we hit those drop offs for those max velocity days. And then with our athletes that are track athletes, or just their only goal is to get faster, we will add in one sort of technique type day, and that's where we're really going to do long build-ups, thinking like 100-yard build-up, really just building up some of those qualities and the technical aspects of a sprint and allowing that athlete to feel it. Now, when you're sprinting, you're doing these sprint days, the variability comes in, you're struggling with something in your sprints, right? And that's where you can add some sort of the drills and some sort of the constraints. So when you see us do our Naruto runs or the med ball sprints in front of us, really to bias different feels of the sprints and really constrain that athlete to sprint in a different way or get them to feel sprinting in a different way. Whether it's a longer stride length, whether it's using their arms a little bit more rotationally, maybe getting rid of some of that forward lean and anterior pelvic tilt. All those constraints and drills can be used on those sprint days to really dial in some of those technical aspects of the sprint. So a traditional sprint day for us will look like hitting a sprint warm-up. We'll do build-ups, and a lot of times in these build-ups we're doing no hand sprints, one arm sprints, stick sprints just to get a feel of something. Then we'll do some sort of projection exercise, so it's a skip for distance, a bound, just to get that athlete to feel long. Then we'll do some sort of frequency exercise where we're hitting rapid line hops, fast heel taps, just to get that athlete twitchy. Then we'll do some sort of acceleration movement problem, and we'll hit 5 to 10-ish sets of this, and it's like 10 to 15-ish yard sprints, whether that's racing a partner, whether it's a roll into a sprint, whether it's a hurdle sprint. There's so many variations there. And then we'll end those sprint days with a fly 10, where we go from the wall, or we're hitting a curve build-up in, and we're ripping some max velo work for that day. And that's kind of our setup of with our athletes when we're sprinting twice a week. And that's not to count the contextualized sprint days and contextualized speed days that we have, where we're adding small-sided games in there on the other days of the week, where we'll do a long, narrow field, and we'll play some sort of handball or muddle type game, where the only way to really win that game is max velocity, is to open up a little bit. And I really like those contextualized speed days to see if that speed is transitioning, but it's a really good way to get your athletes sprinting in a way that builds up other general qualities of athleticism when it comes to team sports, which is just seeing the field, evading defenders. And I really think a lot of times if you put a GPS on your athletes during those days, you will see some really high sprint speeds in those contextualized sprint days. And I think a lot of athletes free up a lot when they have a ball in their hand and they have a task to go complete, which is go sprint really, really fast to go score the ball, rather than sprint through layers. I think a lot of athletes tense up when it's just a laser sprint. And obviously that's something you gotta work on and something you gotta build up. But I think all of these sprint stimuluses can be used to get the best out of an athlete and get the athlete the fastest. So that's kind of general thought processes on sprint training. But if you are really looking to get fast, I would just look to invest in a sprint timer so that you have some sort of metric to gamify your training and to see if you're progressing or regressing when it comes to sprint training, right? So let's get after the second set. We got 8 reps here. Let's go. Oh yeah. All right, set of 6 here, then we got a set of 4, and then we out ski. Let's go. Oh yeah, let's go. All right, we'll answer one more question, mostly just to buy myself time before my legs explode here. Squats are actually feeling pretty good. Back's been feeling like it's been getting back to full healthy. Last week it was just kind of funky. It just not feel the best, but this week it's starting to really come back. It's feeling really good on these squats. But got the question, asking in a 4-day split, upper-lower split, where I like to put my sprints and jumps. And I like to tell coaches every day we're doing sprints, right? On both of our upper body days, we do contextualized speed or agility type sessions where we're hitting some sort of small-sided game. So our upper body days are going to look like some sort of general warm-up. Wednesday's going to be the rolls, the crawls, the tumbling type series. Monday's going to be more of a general warm-up, just coming off of the break of the weekend where they're a little bit beat up. So we'll play spike ball, we'll play basketball, just something very general to get them warmed up. On Monday, we hit the tumbling series on Wednesday. And then from there, once the bodies are warmed up, we're feeling good. We got some energy going from the competition. We're gonna go into some of these small-sided games, which is a muddle, maybe it's some handball, maybe it's some ultimate frisbee with some constraints where maybe the goal that day is to work on some man coverage, maybe it's to work on some zone coverage. But our goal those days is to get athletes touches on defending, scoring, evading, really getting them reps at seeing the open field, passing the ball. A lot of times we'll add a constraint of a certain amount of passes before you can score. These are days where we'll do a lot of tags type stuff. That's what we did this morning. We did some Hunger Game type style tag where we put a ball in the middle. We had athletes sprint to the middle. First person to grab the ball is on offense. Team that didn't get to the ball is on defense, and you have to control the ball for 10 seconds without getting your flag pulled. But we get a ton of agility and acceleration work on those days. And then if one of those days is more of a closed-sided agility type focus day with small acceleration work, the next small-sided game is going to be a longer, narrower field to work on more max velo work, where there's less juking, there's less cutting, and there's more just straight line speed, deeper passes, and we get those athletes to open up. And then on our 2 lower body days, those are going to be our sprinting days. So that's where we're going to do the sprinting day that we talked about, where we're doing acceleration movement problems into those flying 10s and ripping there, and that's where all of our jumps are going to be too. So on both of our lower body days, we're going to hit a horizontal jump movement problem, a vertical jump movement problem. And the first lower body day, we're going to do our weighted jumps on the jump mat or just standing jump mats. And the second lower body day, we're going to do approach verticals on the jump mat. And the jump mat just gives us KPIs to see if we're progressing on our jumps. And I like pairing that with the horizontal and vertical jump movement problems to, one, give athletes a lot of chances to win. A lot of times I think the straight up outputs can freeze an athlete up if they're kind of hitting a barrier. And if you give them a movement problem to jump through, a lot of times they'll hit a PR or do something really cool and they'll get a feel there, and then they'll bring that energy to the jump mat. But on the other end, if things are improving on the jump mat, but we're not seeing them transition to the movement problems that we want to do that day, which you see a lot in a lot of stiffer force-producing athletes, then we really give them a lot of touches to start to use those outputs and start to express those outputs on the field. And that blend of things has been really productive for our verticals and outputs in the gym. And currently we have like 6 or 7 athletes sitting at a 40-inch vertical on the jump mat, which is pretty insane. And I know I've talked about this before, but when we were at St. Thomas not doing a lot of this stuff early on, out of our 100 athletes, I think we had like 1 or 2 athletes jumping 40 inches on the jump mat. And now out of our 30 athletes that we train in the morning with our one group, we have 5 or 6, which is pretty insane. But I really like that blend of things and stacking the stimuluses on those lower body days. So those lower body days are more of our high stimulus days, and we're using those upper body days as more of our low stimulus days, but we're still getting some sprint work in, and we're getting a lot of touches on these things, which I truly believe is one of the main drivers of improvement, is frequency of expressing these skills that you want to express on the field. And the more that we can get athletes to be athletes, I truly believe the better, right? So both of our upper body days, we're just going to do some agility or contextualized speed work. Both of our lower body days, we're hitting all of our jumps and all of our sprint work. And all of these jumps and sprints really prep the athletes for the lifts. I'm not saying it's the only way to do it, but I do believe getting athletes jumping and sprinting before they lift really does improve their lifts. I think a lot of times it gets looked at as like it takes away from the lifts, and I just really have not found that. I found that when athletes jump and sprint before they lift, it really primes the body, really gets them juiced up, and really gets them ripping the lifts, and the strength numbers go kind of through the roof. And I think you have the benefit of decompressing that athlete from those squats. I think a lot of times when you're just ripping squats by in and of themselves without any mobility work or without any jumps or without anything that gets that spine rotating and moving, I think that spine really starts to lock up. Whereas if you pair those, I'm not pairing them for that French contrast effect or the potentiation effect. I'm pairing them to get them decompressed with that compression type exercise. We found a lot less complaints when it comes to back pain. Again, it's not the only solution to back pain. It's not the number one thing we do for back pain. But I think any small step that you can take to get those athletes out of pain so that they can show up the next day and continue on that frequency grind, the better. If you get an athlete all sorts of locked up and then the next day they can't do it, but they got a really good day in on day one, but it takes them 2 days to recover, I really don't see a lot of benefit in that, whereas I kind of look at it as that slow cooking approach and that concurrent approach, which allows that athlete to show up the next day feeling really, really good and less beat up so they can get after it again, right? And they can continue to crush that frequency. So that's kind of how we approach our high-low model, our upper-lower splits, and our 4-day model at the gym. All right, let's get this last set. It's going to be a grinder. Oof. 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 Oh yeah, let's go. Oh, good little day. Talking was a little clunky, but hopefully you guys got the message. Appreciate you guys watching. Keep chopping wood.